bit.
15 seconds. 10, 7, 6, 5.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome to the Sunday live show for the 0 to 100 challenge. My name is Sam, aka the Uncle Sam, founder of Fire City, and who I have with me today in today's show is an old-time friend, Alex. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
So, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've now been in Singapore in the fitness industry for around 12 years. I actually started off working in my early days with Sam at the American Club a long time ago. So that's how we got to know each other. And from there, I kind of ended up building up my own personal training, coaching business, which is called Fitness Guru SG. And I also lead the SFBF, which is the Singapore Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness, so organizing bodybuilding events in and outside of Singapore, and helping to support local athletes in that respect. So the way that my business is orientated these days is more focused on not only just physically training people, but also helping people improve their overall lifestyles.
So I think one of the, now that you mentioned about events, something to highlight would be the show of strength. You're wearing a t-shirt right now. So you ran a really successful show of strength in 2018 and 2019.
Yeah, so we started it off in 2017 in Singapore. It was actually after the Arnold Classic Asia got cancelled. Kind of decided that we wanted to try and do something so that athletes had somewhere to go, because a lot of people were preparing for that event. I was actually preparing for it myself too. So we just decided to do it. We went ahead and the show was a great success. We did it again in 2018, which was when Sam was involved with the CrossFit as well. And then we did it in the Philippines last year. Of course, nothing's happening this year for obvious reasons. But the event's basically more of a all-round strength sports, and also, I guess, a bit holistic event. So it's not just bodybuilding. It's like we've had CrossFit, strongman, powerlifting, arm wrestling, yoga, pole dancing, all sorts of stuff. So a bit more of in order to get more engagement and to draw a wider crowd of people and get more people, I guess, to be able to understand what each other do. So like, for example, CrossFit and bodybuilding, a lot of time people don't really get what the others do. So it's good for them to mingle and mix and get more exposure.
Yeah, I remember it was really fun. We'll touch base a little bit more about it because I think it's a good topic to talk to discuss further about, like how do we get people from 0 to 100 in all aspects. And it could be arm wrestling, it could be dancing, it could be yogaing, it could be powerlifting, it could be CrossFit style of training, it could be just so many various ways. And especially in your event or in these events, it allows us to see through how fitness progress in various kinds of forms and practices.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's run through this very quickly first. So what is this 0 to 100 challenge about? It is a 4-week program to help develop physical and mental fitness. So don't just be training so hard, but it's also about applying your strength, your mental wellness into everyday lifestyle challenges as well. So don't forget to catch the live shows and the pre-recorded training videos all through the weeks. Now, if you've missed them before, just go back online and screen through them. Now, the amazing thing about it is that every single day there will be a training sessions dedicated or led by a trainer, well-known trainer here, to get you through from the 0 to 100 style of training. Now, also more importantly is catch us live every Sunday. Myself and a guest trainer, one of the leaders in the industry like Alex, will be here to discuss about fitness, wellness, and the approach to the 0 to 100 challenge. Okay, so tell us a little bit more. How did you get through the circuit breaker period?
That's a great question. With great difficulty, if I'm honest. I managed to, I think the most important thing for me was, I guess the darkness kind of set in after it got extended, which I think most people can familiarize with, you know, when they extended it an extra month. That's when I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Because I think as human beings, we need a sense of purpose. And I felt that when I woke up in the morning, I didn't have that anymore so much. So I had to build in routines and rituals that were an absolute must for me. So they were my rock. So what I did was I actually did another nutrition course to further qualify myself, so that when I came out of it, I could, you know, offer more for my clients and help people more. So I guess be a generally more productive human being. I made sure that I worked out at the same time every day. I stuck with my current diet without fail. So I kept in touch with my coach. I have a coach as well, and we stuck with my diet. My training was consistent. I went for an hour's walk every day in the sunshine with my wife. So these were the kind of routines that kept me sane. I wasn't perfect, I'll be quite honest. There were some times where I stayed up really late watching Netflix and then couldn't wake up in the morning the next day because I was like, well, I don't have to wake up, so why am I going to bed so early? So I guess towards the end, when I realized that this was, you know, I was actually going to have to start waking up normally again, I had to start trying to scale back my bedtime a little bit. But the key thing really was the routine and making sure that I had some purpose for the day. Without that, I would have been lost. And I still had days where it was really difficult. I was not motivated to work out most days, if I'm honest. I didn't want to do it because it's very difficult when you're at home to be sat on the sofa and then you're looking at your, you know, couple of dumbbells you've got sat on the balcony or wherever. Now I've got to go do a workout. It's a difficult transition. It's not the same as going to the gym. So it's different, but I did it, and every single time after I did it, I always felt 100% better, even when I really, really didn't want to do it. I could have missed it out so many times, but I guess the thing that I'm most proud of myself for is making sure that I stuck with that, and I'm really pleased that I did. I also kept in contact with all of my clients throughout the period, so the human connection, checking in with people, having phone calls, WhatsApps, whatever it might be, I think was a really good thing to do, and actually quite a lot of my clients said that they really appreciate that. Now that didn't mean that we were doing Zoom sessions. I didn't do many of those at all, to be honest, but it was more just the keeping in touch with people. And I also spoke to my parents who are in the UK every single day by FaceTime. So, and we're still doing that now. So that was one good thing that came out of it, is that, you know, instead of speaking once a week, now we speak every day. So yeah.
So I'm gonna take a side step right now. So first and foremost, congratulations Axel, and congratulations Alex for becoming new parents.
Thank you.
8 days old.
8 days old now. Yeah.
So keep this recording, so when he grows up, you'll be able to remind him like, wow, we mentioned you on the show first.
Absolutely, Carlo.
Okay, so what I hear is that like when things change, controllably or uncontrollably, it's very important for us to adapt, and it's very important for us to align ourselves to handle new things. So I hear what you mentioned about like creating new routines and keep it sustainable as well. I think that's something that everybody must remember, whether or not you are new to fitness or you're already in fitness or you're coaching, because even like someone yourself is also going through the struggles of handling and keeping yourself in check on a day-to-day basis as well. And the other thing about it is that the social aspect is so important, because I would say that I did pretty much what you did as well, like texting and staying in touch with my students or my members or my client, whoever, you know, however you want to call them. And you know, and while it seems like we are reminding them to keep their life sustainable and routine, it's also kind of like indirectly reminding ourselves that while we're asking them, reminding them to do so, to do that for ourselves as well. So yeah. Now the other question that I really like to ask is this, now Alex, what's your back squat weight like on a regular
surprise question? Actually, So the way I'm doing back squats at the moment is I'm doing paused squats, whereby you pause for 4 seconds at the bottom of the squat, and you build. I do squat. I don't do squats first in the workout either. So I will do leg curls and leg press. So I'm just making excuses here, right? So leg curls, leg press first, and then my squats. I do 3 sets. This is how I'm doing it. I do 2 prep sets, which is 6 reps, and then I'll do my last set, which is basically as many reps as I can possibly get. So currently, nothing really crazy, like 140 kilos, paused squats, and I can get about 10 reps with that at the moment. Once I can get 12, then I add weight, and the kind of weight that I'm going to add is going to be like 1.25 kg each side, and then I have to get 12 with that before I can go up again. This is how I do it. So I focus on, of course, form, range of movement, so I get really deep, controlling the weight all the way through, and of course, making sure that my body's upright so that I'm engaging the right muscles that I'm targeting. I'm not leaning forwards too much. And I think also by doing it this way, I avoid injury, because I've hurt my knee before by doing really heavy squats. And then I couldn't squat or train legs properly for around 6 months. So
I just had to hold you there for a while, because it's fun to be sitting on this side right now asking the question, because if anybody asks me, it's like, hey Sam, what's your squat? And I pick any number, and then they'll just go like, oh my god, really? Pretty much the same thing as well. Now that I'm sitting on this side and then I'm looking at the team behind, they were all smiling and laughing, because your seemingly moderate, okay kind of weight is pretty much like the combination of the body weight of the entire team behind the camera. Okay, but I think the key aspect is this, is like you mentioned a lot of very interesting, or not just very interesting, very informative contexts, like the topics like the range of motions, the technique involvements, and like the concepts, the formats of the training, and the flow of the workout as well. So where I'm heading is, as you can see, I'm trying to lead us towards like the approach. Like if you're watching this, chances are you are puzzled about how to make progression. You're puzzled about getting through this challenge or any other challenges in life. So if somebody, could be anybody, could be myself, could be my mom, could be my dad, coming up to you, hey Alex, like I want to get through this challenge. First and foremost, do you think 0 to 100 challenge is feasible for anybody to get through it?
Yeah, I 100% think that it is, because you've got to put the numbers aside, and you're thinking that 0 to 100 is basically a way of saying, right, okay, you're going to work out where you're at now, and that doesn't matter. Everybody has a starting point, and then, you know, we're saying you aim for 100. It doesn't even have to be 100, but it's a good round number to go for. And then from there, you're going to try and make some progress on, let's say, a weekly basis. And that could be, it doesn't matter how much you progress. So it could be an extra 10 reps of any movement, push up, squat, sit up, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. Or, you know, it could just be 1. But any kind of improvement is progress, and that's what you've got to focus on. You also have to focus on the process itself, and not just think about the 100 milestone, because that can seem quite far away. So focus on every single day, making sure that you go through the process, and that you do the push-ups, the sit-ups, the squats, or whatever it is that you're doing, in order for you to try and make that improvement by this time next week.
Yep. So cool thing. So if time is not an element, like we can go through this forever and ever, however long it is. What do you think on maybe weekly or fortnightly? What kind of milestones do you think anybody or everybody would likely be experiencing? GP, general population.
In terms of how many more reps
from
they
0
should be doing,
to, it could be anything, just general fitness aspect. Like what you mentioned earlier, like get the form right first. How long would it take? Not how long,
so
if time is not an element.
If time's not, I mean, actually, time is just one way to measure things, really. Once you really get, I guess, fall in love with the process of doing things, time doesn't really matter so much anymore, unless you have a specific event that you're doing things for. But you, of course, like you mentioned, you have to master the body positioning and the form and everything first. So that might take you a couple of weeks, or a week or so, depending on how much time you give it. because you have to make time for these things. And one thing that I always tell people is if you don't make time, time will be taken from you one way or another. So you have to make time for it. It's not a lot of time, but you have to make it. So you probably want to spend a week or so, let's say, to make sure that you can do these things properly. Many people don't do push-ups properly, like their elbow positioning is wrong, so then they hurt their shoulders, or their hips are dropping down before their upper body goes down. Or maybe they're just not strong enough to do a full push-up first, which is also fine. Squats, another one. Again, people often, their body positioning is out, they lean forwards too much, or the heels are coming off the floor.
Do you actually really think, do you actually think that push-ups, sit-ups, squats are simple, basic exercises?
Yes and no. So yes, in a sense they are, but there is more that goes into them, and most people won't just be able to do it naturally. There will be some coaching required, and that will vary from person to person. And some people will pick it up real quick, and other people won't. Also, if you've been working from home or you sat at a desk all day, the chances are your mobility and your flexibility are going to be pretty poor. So getting into the right position will be harder, which means you need to make sure that you try and work on it on a daily basis just to improve these things in order for you to be able to do it properly. So perhaps don't even think about the 0 to 100 initially. Think about being able to do the exercises properly, pain-free. Then you start to try and improve on your numbers.
Yeah, totally agree. So I think some of the key points I hear, and I just want to summarize it to remind myself, and if it benefits you, is that like if we've spent the last 30, even like 20 years, 30 years, and then 40 years not moving very much, it's been sitting around on a chair most of the time, like our recognition and our natural tendency to go into a proper squat, proper push-ups, proper sit-up, or even a proper pull-up has derailed, has changed entirely. So then therefore it's very important for us to relearn what seems to be basic. It is basic not because it's easy, but it's basic because it's supposed to be a natural tendency for us to, it's just like a fetal pose, right? It's like a squat position and stuff like that. So after getting in a position, so going back to like what do you think would be like the key milestones, and maybe like overall, then we talk about the duration. How long do you think would someone who is relatively new to fitness to get through from a 0 to 100?
So 0 to 100 in one go. I'd say you realistically need to be probably giving yourself anything in the range of 3 to 6 months to do it safely. Now, it might sound, you might do it a lot sooner, but I always like to be conservative when I set goals for people, because you don't want to, I'd rather undercommit, over-deliver in that respect. So maybe you'll do it in a lot shorter time, which is fantastic. But if you give yourself that amount of time, the chances of you hurting yourself are a lot lower, which is important. Now, you might think, oh, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, how am I going to hurt myself? Believe me, it can happen. People do it all the time. So just because they're rushing things or over-ambitious. Also, if you take your time, you'll be able to always be making progress, which is motivating. If you try and rush it too much, you'll initially make a short burst of progress, and then it'll probably fall off a cliff. You're just going to hit a plateau, if you like. So then you become demotivated, disinterested, and the chance of you continuing are a lot lower. So this is why, especially with my clients and with myself, in terms of progressing, I always try and do it with very small amounts. So it's going to be like, okay, next week we want to get an extra rep with this weight. That's all I'm asking. And that is progress. We celebrate that. Or if you've hit my rep threshold, then we're going to increase the weight by a little bit, barely noticeable, so that you can keep progressing. If you try and jump things too fast, whether it's rep numbers or weight, you're going to find that it's not sustainable. It goes back to sustainability as well.
So small wins, big achievements. So if you were to just accumulate it over time, so even that, I think what I'm gaining from you right now is like, if you're with us so far since the program started, and this is the beginning of week 4, so you've kind of like completed all 3 weeks of training. And if you're challenging yourself, or if you're just benchmarking, doing a baseline testing, now if you take 2 minutes to complete 10 push-ups, for example, but this time around you're actually doing 10 push-ups, but it's taking you 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I say it's an achievement because you put your body under tension for extra 15 seconds, even though the repetitions are the same.
And perhaps you're doing it better. You're the likelihood is that your form might be better, you're actually getting more muscle engagement. So there are other ways to track whether you're progressing other than just numbers as well. It's how you feel and also how you're performing movements.
So I'm going to move on into the holistic approach, right? So I've known you for so many years, and I've especially the recent years, I've seen you posting and sharing a lot about the holistic approach, and not just about training hard, not just about eating well, but there is this like encompassing holistic approach. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so I guess in my younger days, I was a bit more, of course, I'm a bodybuilder, so I guess I kind of had unrealistic expectations of people to be able to do what I was doing, which is weighing out every single meal, carrying it around in Tupperware boxes all day, eating cold chicken and broccoli and you name it.
With ketchup.
This is not sustainable. So, and a lot of the clients and people that I work with, they're very busy people. They have careers, they have families, and they also want to achieve their fitness goals. So I guess I had a realization that, I cannot expect people to do what I do. They may not even want to do what I do. They may want some kind of similar results, and I can certainly apply some areas that I can take some things from bodybuilding for sure. But it has to be more holistic, and it has to be more sustainable. So a lot of people, they neglect their sleep. This underpins everything in our health. If you don't sleep properly, then you're never going to be your best. There's general movement, so we're not even talking about structured training here. So general movement could be getting up and doing some household chores. People just don't do as much of it. And then just going off on a little bit of a tangent, with the circuit breaker, people are doing even less because they're not going out for lunch, they're not going to the MRT, they're not walking, they're not going to walk into the bus. So the activity levels have dropped even lower. Then we come to structured training. Yes, that's also important. You need to, I believe people should be engaging in some resistance training and some challenging cardiovascular aerobic type training, and then also, trying to improve their flexibility, etc. So for me, it's all about trying to combine all of those factors in order to help people be, I guess, the best version of themselves on a more frequent basis. And that enables them to be better at their jobs, be more engaged with their families, look better and feel better generally, and just have more sustainable energy throughout the day, which is just going to make just generally being more optimal.
And you also mentioned about setting alarms in the phone as well, just to remind your client, yourself, to get out and get moving as well. So that helps. So if you can build like a consistent routine and plan ahead of time, it doesn't mean planning your meals and eating chicken breast and broccoli all the time. It's about getting a fixed routine such that your body could be in tune with it and create the adaptation and the transformation that we're looking for.
Right? And you have to find what works for you ultimately. So there are different ways in which I try and help people depending on, and it depends on their own lifestyle, their own capabilities, what they're ready to do at this stage in time. So so you don't necessarily think because somebody else is doing this and being successful that if you do the same thing, you'll also be successful. It may not be sustainable for you, so you have to find your own route to success, basically. Yeah,
that's cool.
So anyone can be successful in being more fit, healthy, happier. They just have to find the correct route.
Tell us a little bit more, because earlier on you mentioned, right, it's also about being mindful about the journey and not always so fixated about the eventual results as well. So what kind of journey would you kind of like share with everyone, like what to be expecting for? Not just a milestone, but like how do you remind people to be in the right state of mind about enjoying their journey?
Well, so I guess we'll use fitness as an example. On a fitness journey, often people tend to get too fixated on the end result. Now, it's fine to have that goal, but you don't want to be too focused on that all the time. What you should try and be focused on is what you do day to day. And also find a way in which you can fall in love with the process. If you don't love the process, do you think that you're really going to be able to sustain this long term? So whatever you're doing, you should be able to ask yourself a few questions. Now, the questions that I would get people to ask themselves would be, do I feel good what I'm doing now? first of all. So second question would be, can I do this forever? You have to be able to, in my opinion, it's not something that should ever be short term. You can't be thinking, right, when I get to this, I'm just going to stop and go back to what I was doing before. What's the point then?
Yeah.
We're talking about improving lifestyle, health, wellness, and your physical, emotional and mental well-being here. So it has to be sustainable. And then also, how is your energy levels? You need to be able to be feeling good on what you're doing, which I guess comes back to the first question. Do I feel good on this? A lot of people, when it comes to dieting and training, they overdo it, so they feel pretty poor. They have poor energy levels, they're hungry, miserable, they even start to hate the training. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So pick an activity you enjoy, at least at first. It doesn't matter what it has to be. Of course, there are things that I believe should be included in any kind of fitness program. Like I mentioned, resistance training, some kind of aerobic training. But there are many ways to do this. There's not, any set things that you have to do. Like for example, you could say, right, I enjoy doing CrossFit type training, then do that. I enjoy cycling, do that then that's fantastic. If you prefer bodybuilding style training, then do that. You have to find something that you enjoy, then you're going to stick with it.
Yeah, sustainability and consistency, right? So let's talk about something interesting for me. Injuries. So we've all got injuries. So do you have pre-existing injuries right now?
Yeah, I have a few things that bother me from time to time that reoccur.
You want to share?
Shoulders. I have injured both of my shoulders pretty badly doing heavy dips a few years ago when I tore both my labrums in my shoulders, which was good. And I was actually doing a photo shoot as well when I did that, showboating.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Well, I want to touch base on this because fitness journeys and challenges. I think the interesting thing is that everyone just talk about the progressions, the benchmarks, the how they overcome, and the eventuals, like the success. But the reality is that we all have injuries.
Yes.
We all injure ourselves somehow along the way. So the key point is what do you have, and what do you do, and how do you go around it?
Okay, so in terms of the shoulder injuries, when it was at its worst. Now it does recur from time to time. But I basically said that it was no way I was not going to keep training. Okay, so that was not on the table.
Yeah.
So I found ways to work around my injuries. And the golden rule is, if it hurts, don't do it. So, it sounds pretty simple,
Please
right?
remember this: if it hurts, please don't do it.
So I'm not going to take painkillers and things like that so that I can train through an injury. No, I will find exercises that I can do to work the muscle groups. I guess the difficult muscle groups, which I guess for me at the time was the chest actually was the hardest thing for me to work back then. I could still train my shoulders, weirdly enough. But the chest, certain movements were just not doable. So I had to find ways around it to try and get those muscles working. And I managed. And also I thought, okay, I have other muscle groups that perhaps need more work, or lagging muscle groups. So I'll focus more on them and I'll make more progress in that respect. So I guess you could say, okay, I've injured my upper body. Now I can really make some great progress with my lower body, can't I? Because I'll just focus solely on that.
Yeah.
So that's another approach I've also used before. It's just saying, okay, right, I'm just not going to train upper body for 6 months. I'm just going to do lower body. Of course, you're not going to look as good in your upper body, but it'll come back. We have this thing called muscle memory. It is a thing. And when you start training it back again, you'll be surprised how quickly the muscle comes back, provided that you're eating properly and recovering properly.
Yeah, and I'll say in both ways as well. So I think I really want to emphasize this again and say if it is painful, don't do it. And we know, and I would say that I assume that we know that if it is a bad pain, stop moving. But some pain are good, and which basically means it's a response, it's a feedback, just keep moving. Which also brings me into another point to say that common sense is not common. So if you don't feel or if we don't feel like we don't have the common sense, then ask, because I have a coach, you have a coach as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that there's this higher calling person that we go to. It's just having a discussion. Somebody who might be better in terms of creating like a proper feedback session to figure things out.
It's a second pair of ears and a second pair of eyes, basically.
Exactly.
Which I think everybody needs.
Yeah. So do that. So if you feel like you need help in terms of like seeking the progression and understanding the journey, not knowing too sure whether or not the pain, the gains, the movement, it's all right, consult a professional, like someone, like Alex. How long have you been in the fitness line?
Around, I don't know, maybe 12 or more years now.
Professionally training people,
yeah,
right? But even like way longer if you
way longer since I started training myself and competing and being in sport in general.
Yeah, so I said like there are various kind of trainers. One kind of trainers is like they start from zero and then literally they just been in tune to conducting and leading, instructing people. Then there's also the other, or somewhat like athletes starting out ourselves, and then making progress and eventually moving towards training people. So then therefore trainers like this has not just the instructions value, but they've also got like an in-depth of training values as well, experiences as well. To kind of like bring it onto the table. So let's wrap it up a little bit. So if we just like I asked earlier, if there is like somebody in generally, I would say in like between 30s to 50, 30 to 40s, hasn't been exercising for very long, like what would be your advice to someone like that? No injuries.
No injuries. My advice would be, in order to save yourself time, is like you just mentioned, the first thing that comes to my mind is consult a professional and try and get a program put together that's tailored for you. Yes, you can learn a lot off the internet these days, but there's also a lot of false information or misleading information. So it's a lot better to try and consult a professional to make sure that you're not doing anything that's going to harm you, and also that what you are doing is going to get you the best results in the least amount of time, which is, let's be honest, that's what we all want, right? So we want to make the fastest progress, but do it in a way that we don't hurt ourselves. So that would be probably my most important piece of advice. If you're sort of an injury-free person who's new to training, then don't injure yourself, first of all, and make sure that you get a program that's structured and tailored to what you want to achieve.
So, and I would say, like, don't be embarrassed to ask the professional, like in this case, like Alex, what qualifications or what kind of certifications, experience do you have? Because it definitely inspires me to meet someone like yourself who takes opportunity during the circuit breaker or not the circuit breaker to continue to improve yourself, so that we can continue to serve others as well. So don't only be looking out for like the so-called reputable or the famous or the popular trainers.
No, definitely not. No.
Find one. When you find one, don't be embarrassed. Just ask like, what do you know? What do you have? And what have you been doing? And then from there on, seek the kind of customized program. And of course, if you're still too shy, if you're still not too sure, just use a pre-existing one. There's nothing wrong with it. But as soon as you've experienced through the journey, it will always be helpful to consult one to customize and to personalize what your training needs are.
Yeah, I mean, you'll also find that good, reliable, and successful coaches have a track record. So you can probably find some of their ex-clients or current clients who are more than happy to give a referral. That's also quite reassuring. So, if you, for example, you say, right, I want to check out Sam. I'm sure Sam has people who have worked with him over the last God knows how many years who could quite happily say, yeah, Sam's great. Sam really knows what he's doing. And I got fantastic results. Sam, please, go and speak to Sam. It's a referral business, I think. Actually, the majority of my clients all come through referrals. So that's probably the best way to find somebody. And then, of course, you more than like what Sam said, check their qualifications. It needs to be a balance of qualifications, experience, and attitude, I think. Because some people also have the qualifications and the experience, but they're not really that passionate about it. And I think you need to be with someone who really genuinely cares, loves what they do, and is always hungry for new knowledge and learning, and doesn't think that they just know it all because they've been doing it for X number of years. I'll be the first to say there's so much that I don't know, and I'm always trying to learn new things in areas that I'm very interested in, which, you know, nutrition is one of them, of course, training, recovery, sleep. And I try and consult experts in these fields to learn more, and also try and do more courses myself from time to time when I have time. So these are the kind of things you probably should be looking for, as people who are also trying to self-improve as well.
I think in a nutshell as well, like based on what you just mentioned, I would usually say this as well. It's like, I got no idea how to train you, to be honest, but we'll figure it out together, because every individual is different.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes up to us and we're like, oh, I know exactly what you need to do, I think that's something wrong, because then I'm technically putting a model on you, a framework that will work for others, but it may not work for you. So what's more important is have a professional, a coach, a trainer who is dedicated, passionate about training with you and figuring things out together.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter plan, basically. So, and I do see this a lot, sadly, when I see people getting trained, is that they're getting just generic training that don't suit their needs necessarily. So, or that you see how they're moving in certain planes, certain exercises they're getting given to do, and you're like, that person should not be doing that.
Yeah.
When I start with people, I have to learn their body for the first few weeks at least, learn their strengths, weaknesses, imbalances, the likes and dislikes, and also get to learn their personality too, which is probably the biggest thing, because then you know how you can motivate and push somebody based on their personality. And it's harder with some than others.
So I know this is a long summary, but it really is the gist of the show as well. I think it's really important to understand that every one of us is different. And yeah, I'm going to steal the word cookie cutter. All right. Now, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you, Alex. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for tuning in with us. So we've got one more Sunday live show, and don't miss it. So train safe, train healthy, be well, and if you do have any questions, feel free to send us a message.
Yep.
And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
Have a great weekend.